name's Adam Russo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Phia Group. I'm so honored, so humbled to be asked to come back after the first time, I think it was 9 years ago, was the last time I spoke here, and this is the first time you've asked me to come back, Jay. I'm just saying, I'm only kidding. I was at the first ever conference. It was not this room. It did not have anywhere close to this number of people. It is obvious that there is a total, it's a revolution of what's happening in our industry. And what I'm going to talk about today is what would be the perfect self-funded plan. Now, I'm going to be a little bit, cocky here and tell you that I feel that my company, the plan that we built, is the perfect self-funded health plan. I'm going to get into details as to why. But first, I want to bring up something. Those two kids, wasn't that, Dr. Smith and Jay 40 years ago, just sitting there, right, at the river's edge, having a conversation about healthcare? But I want to say one thing about Jay and Dr. Keith Smith as well. You truly are pioneers. What you did and what you guys continue to do to this day, other people are following, other people have been inspired in our industry. And I just want to give you guys a round of applause for just everything you've done to get us to where we are today. All right, so a couple things to bring up. First, I love to walk around. Anyone, raise your hand if you've heard me speak before. Anybody? Wow, that's a lot of people. Okay, I'm going to not use any of those old jokes, I promise. I have all new stuff. But I have 2 fractured toes, and I have not worn a shoe since Sunday. I've been wearing flip-flops every day, but I figured, do I really want you all right in the front to actually see my toes? And I figured that the answer would be no. So I'm going to suck it up here and do my best. But you notice how I'm not standing there and I'm not sitting there, even though I'm sure every doctor in this room would tell me not to keep walking around. But I can't help it. It's what I am. It's what I do. So let's get right into it. What are we going to do? We're going to identify the foundational pillars of what the perfect plan design should be. Before I get into that, I just want to apologize for talking fast. I only have an hour. Usually I get a lot more time than that. Usually about a 4-hour session with the break in between. But I talk fast. I also have a very thick accent, if you probably couldn't tell. Anyone want to guess where I'm from? And it's not here. Anybody? Who said New York? All right. Every time, that's even worse. New Jersey. That's even worse than New York. No, I am from the inner city of Boston, in a neighborhood called Dorchester. So for those of you in your 40s, late 40s probably, you guys remember New Kids on the Block? Same neighborhood, okay? You all remember New Edition? Same neighborhood. Donna Summer? Same neighborhood. So just like me, they're really good performers. I thought people laughed a little bit more at that one. That was pretty funny, I thought. Okay. The number one thing I try to explain to people years and years ago, so just so you know, when I was 26, I started the Phia Group in my mother's basement with $4,000. And it wasn't because I had some sit down or a meeting by the river with my best friend at the time, Mike Bronco, and we're going to change healthcare. I just knew that there was a lot of corruption, overcharging, a lot of waste, a lot of abuse within healthcare. I knew that because I had a job when I was 16 years old working for an attorney who was an ERISA attorney whose brother owned a TPA. And that was the only client we had. And our job was to see if there were overcharges and recover those funds. Well, at 26, I figured I could do a better job than the other competitors at this, and I felt that there was a really big market opportunity. And today, my company has over 250 employees and represent 17 million employee lives. That's roughly 40 million covered lives. And so by having that much business, by having that many plans, one thing you notice is that every single plan does the exact same thing. Every broker does the exact same thing. Because we write the plans. We see the schedule of benefits. We see the deductibles. We see the copays. And all you see every single year is you have that rare plan, 1 out of 500, where you see a deductible or a copay actually go down. Think about that. We're shocked if we see a plan document where the benefits get better and less out of pocket for the actual employees and their families. If you notice, I said the word family. I didn't use the word dependent. I hate that word because that's what happens. No different than what Jay was talking about, that experience of being in that waiting room or talking to that person. They look at you. You're a claimant. You're a dependent. Well, your daughter is a dependent on the plan. That's not a family. Most people have no idea that the cash price, if you go into an urgent care, is roughly half of that than if you show your Blue Cross Blue Shield card and you have a $10,000 deductible. Nobody knows that. How is that even possible? As you can tell from my very nice tan, last week, I was in the Cayman Islands. I was there for work. I actually did 30 minutes of work and then 3 days of nothing. So, why am I bringing that up to you? Very simply, it was brokers. The entire audience was brokers. It was a captive conference. That's why they had to have it in the Cayman Islands. And every single broker in the room, I couldn't find one single broker that could actually tell me that they had represented a plan where they were able to go into the renewal meeting and have a happy conversation with their employer, their client, and say, yep, we're going to lower the copays. We're going to lower the deductibles. We're going to have no copay for a generic drug. We're going to increase the penalty for someone utilizing an emergency room when they could have utilized an urgent care facility. It doesn't happen, ever. I could sit up here for year after year after year and tell you to do that, but you don't see it. What I'm going to talk about today is specifically that, changing the way you're thinking. Imagine being a broker or an advisor and walking into a meeting and actually having a nice, pleasant, happy conversation with your client. Imagine going into a meeting where instead of having an annual enrollment period, can someone raise their hand if they're an advisor? How much time is spent with the employees when it comes to open enrollment? Anybody? Anyone? Nobody. Okay, 10 minutes, maybe it's a little short. You're probably not that good of a broker. Just play it. Who is that? 10 minutes is short, man. I know they get back. That's the problem, right? So at the same meeting, there are a bunch of CFOs. And I asked the CFOs, what is the second biggest expense that you have at your company? And what do they all say? Healthcare expenses, employee benefits. Second biggest expense. I'm like, so you're telling me your second biggest expense that you have, you spend 10 minutes with your employees talking about it. And it's not even talking about it. What is it? It's, here's the bronze plan, here's the silver plan, here's the gold plan, here's the platinum plan, here's the I don't give a damn plan. All these different plans, and you're giving them the options, but are you telling them anything about their actual benefits? Turning them into consumers of healthcare rather than just being a claimant or a patient of healthcare. That's the rub. I could tell you story after story where my own family, my family cannot go to a doctor's office with me or any facility with me because it's the exact same, probably worse experience than Jay, because at least Jay will stand there calmly and nicely argue, and people actually will think, man, maybe the guy's right, he's so nice. Whereas me, I'm a little bit more abrasive when it comes to confrontations like that. And I'm going to give you an example. So for my toes, by the way, no one even asked how that happened. So thank you for asking. I appreciate you caring. It matters a lot to me. So here's how it happened. On Sunday, school starts on Monday morning. All the kids are taking baths, right, showers. And my kids, by the way, are ages 10, 9, and my twins are 7. So I try not to be home, all right? I mean, it can be rough. It can be rough, especially with 3 girls. I don't know how people do it. I'm afraid of when they're teenagers. I'm definitely thinking I'm gonna have to get a second house because I don't know if I can pull that off. But the reason I'm bringing it up is they feel like when they get out of the shower, my kids don't like to actually use towels. It's like air dry, okay? They run around the house, they kick the soccer balls, all this. So I walk into the bedroom and there's a big puddle of water and I slip. And my pinky toe and the one next to it literally went the bedpost between them. I gotta take my shoe off now, I feel, right? It's killing me. Anyways, the pain was so bad. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the doctor. Now, what does my wife say? Well, do you want to go to the emergency room? I'm like, I'm not dying. Maybe you want me to die, but I'm not dying. I'm not going to go to the emergency room for this. And also, I don't think they can put casts on toes, but I'll go to the urgent care. I go to urgent care. Every time I go to urgent care, this is the answer. This is the discussion we have back and forth. Can I see your insurance card, sir? Here you go. On the insurance card, it says urgent care, no copay. It's right there. Above it, office visit, $20. Sir, we need your $20 copay. I'm like, urgent care, no copay. Sir, yeah, but sorry, we still need to collect the $20 because maybe your insurance company doesn't agree and they want to consider this an office visit. I'm like, well, my insurance company is me. I'm self-funded. And the lady goes, oh, you're self-insured. Oh yeah, we've seen that. We've seen a lot of that. Okay. Well, you never know. Your insurance company might decide. I'm like, ma'am, I just told you, I'm the insurance company. I wrote the plan, which I did. She wouldn't let me go until I gave her a credit card or $20. She wouldn't let me go. So I left, hobbling with my toes. I walked out of there, went to another urgent care, and over there they said, oh, wow, we've never seen this before. Think of what I just said. They've never seen an insurance card with zero copay for urgent care. Ever. So all the stuff that we're doing, folks, it's all great. Everything the FMMA is doing is amazing. None of it matters if the patients, if the actual people on the plan don't know how to become consumers of healthcare and have those discussions that Jay was talking about, that I'm talking about. It doesn't exist. That needs to fundamentally change. And I'm going to talk about how we did it. So the reason I have this up on the slide is I'm obviously proud of this. But why am I proud of it? It's one main reason. Sorry. The main reason I'm proud about this is the reason why my employees say in all the surveys why we are a great place to work. It isn't the pay. We try to pay as well as we can, but we all know it's hard out there. It's the employee benefits. Why? Does anybody here know how much my employees pay and their family members pay for health insurance? Anybody? Zero. It's free for everybody. DPC, raise your hand if you're a DPC doc in here. I love you guys. Jeff, you're the man. I love DPC. It's free for all my employees and their families. My company pays one check a month for all the employees that use that DPC facility every month, PPM, done. We pay it. These things that we do isn't just it's free. They have to go to mandatory workshops. We have mandatory workshops that every employee has to go to. So I sit down with the CFOs of these companies and I said, you spend 5, 10, 20 minutes talking about your second biggest expense. Yet, if you, sir, wanted a raise at your job, let's say you're making 100 grand, and you want to get a raise to 105, $5,000 raise, right? What do you have to do? Annual review, semi-annual review, peer reviews, self-assessments, training, testing, all these things for you to get 5 grand. 5. Yet you, let's just say you're married and you're about to have a baby. You and your wife, when you're choosing what hospital you go to, what are you doing? You're looking at all the hospitals in your network. Every single hospital in your network has the same what? Same copay, same deductible. Same exact thing. There's no difference. So you could decide to go to a hospital where to deliver that baby, and I always do this, to deliver the baby, right? But to deliver that baby, it could cost $10,000 at this hospital and $50,000 at that hospital, but they're both in the network. They're both preferred. How do you have any idea if that hospital or that hospital is better? Any idea? Can you go on Google or Amazon and look up that hospital or that hospital and compare them on how they deal with delivering a baby? Is there anyone that could do that? Yet I could do it to buy a pair of socks. To buy a pair of socks, to buy a TV, to buy a toaster, to buy any single thing that's in this room. Every person here could go online right now, go on Amazon, find out what that costs, what the quality rating is, what their shipping is, what the complaints are. Is there another place is there another company that has a similar product that's a better product, higher quality? Yet, for our own bodies, for every injury, for every ailment, that's not even thought of. Forget the fact that people are lazy and don't do it. That's one thing. You can't even do it, is the scary part. And so I sit down with these CFOs and I tell them, try to treat that second expense, the second largest expense that you have at your company, no different than every other expense where you're looking for ways to be more efficient, looking for ways to find savings, looking for ways to be innovative, looking for ways to think differently. And that's exactly what we do. And unfortunately, it's hard to do. It's not easy in the environment that we're in. Even now, with all the transparency, what percentage of hospitals have actually been transparent when it comes to their charges? Anybody? How many? 10%? 20% max? And each one has their own definition of what is reasonable to show to the public. Anybody here know the name Fat Joe? Raise your hand if you know who Fat Joe is. Not that many people, all right? Fat Joe is a famous rapper, extremely famous rapper. Anybody know, and I think this one will have a lot more hands, who Busta Rhymes is? Does anybody in the audience know where Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe were last week? They were in Miami at some, pool party. Sir, where were they? And what were they doing in D.C.? Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes are in Congress talking about healthcare transparency and hospitals overcharging and hospitals filing liens and taking people to court and ruining people's credit. You have any idea how many hospital systems I see their websites and they go, we would never take you to court to collect the money, ever, which is true. But they will ruin your credit so you'll never refinance a home, never buy a car, never to do anything. That's what happens. But they were there, why? Because a vast majority of people, percentage-wise, who are getting balanced bills are poor. They don't have $1 to pay any claim. And many of those people are minorities. So they're fighting back. And it's amazing. It takes Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe to go to Congress to get them to listen, because why? They bring up the fact, the disparity between rich and poor. Rich people, if you balance bill a rich person $100,000, they can pay it. But they're balanced billing. Folks, we see these claims every day. I know, Corey, you're talking tomorrow. You see these claims every single day, and it's sad. A $2 million claim, I can get on the phone with the hospital and in 5 minutes get that claim negotiated at $200,000. But they'll balance bill the patient for $2 million. It's insanity what's happening in this country. But why don't you hear about it? Because everyone has their hands in the cookie jar. That's exactly why. So I apologize for if you want to call this the rant or my speech before I get into it, but I did get an extra 15 minutes somehow. So that's why I used that time to talk about that. But the reality of the world, folks, is what this movement has done. When I started DPC, when we started working with a DPC practice, there wasn't one. I live in south of Boston. It's called the South Shore. Can anybody repeat that? South Shore, can you say that? South Shore? Yeah, good. It's South Shore, I guess. South Shore? Yeah, South Shore. The North Shore, where Jeff lives, is on the other side of Boston. That might as well be Canada. And people say, well, why would you say that? Well, because to drive through Boston to go anywhere is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. There wasn't a single DPC practice on the South Shore until one guy, Dr. Michael Tremblay, Action Medicine, called me up and he said, I'm thinking about opening a DPC practice. Thinking about it. I go, when you do, you'll have 150 patients, right away. And people say, well, why would you do that? He and his people know our plan. When they are the gatekeepers. I hate when people talk about the $80 or the $100 that it costs. We should make the employees pay. No, it should be wrapped into the administrative cost of the TPA right off the bat. It should be free for everybody. Why? The DPC docs in this room save more money for plans and for employees than any other part of our industry. It's not even close. Why? Because when they're referring someone for an MRI, it's not within the hospital system's MRI. It is a freestanding MRI facility like a Shields, where it's $400 for an MRI versus $4,000 at a hospital system. Blood work, same thing. X-rays, same thing. All that. They're the gatekeepers. They actually are telling people where there are high quality, lower cost options available to them, especially when they have these huge deductible plans and copays. I'm going to share a really quick story, a personal one, about my daughter. Her name's Soli. She just turned 10. First time I spoke here, literally, she was just born, okay? Soli has ADD. We go to the best doctor, best, and I research, and I could get into that, I'm going to get into that a little bit, what the best means, all right? Highest quality, all that stuff. Well, Dr. Castro does a detailed visit, like many visits, studies, sits down with her. He knows me. He knows my demographic. He knows I have 4 kids that go to a private Montessori school. Anybody know what Montessori is? Yeah, it's kids wearing slippers. That's what it is. It's great, but they're wearing slippers. Why do I bring that up? He knows I do well. He knows my story. And in his meeting with my wife and I, it kills me. The guy says to me and my wife, couldn't believe it, for your daughter's ADD, his recommendation at the age of 7 was to put her on Adderall, drugs. And I'm sitting there going, 99% of the people that walk into this room and are in the same situation as me are not lucky. They're like my mom. My mom worked 3 jobs to raise me as a single mother. Okay, we lived in a car when I was 12. Car. And I think about my mom, and my mom would have heard that, and it would have been a blessing to her to hear that. You're telling me there's a magic pill that's going to take care of my kid? Because my mom couldn't afford tutoring, extra lessons, extra whatever, therapy, right? Occupational therapy, whatever it is. All the extra things that I can't afford. I know that 99% of the people in that room, that would be in that room, who work 2 jobs, who are blue-collar workers, barely making it by, right? 2 mortgages at home. They hear Dr. Castro say that, and they look at him as a hero. I got a magic pill for my kid. And we wonder why we have a drug problem in this country, why we have an opioid problem in this country. Folks, that neighborhood I grew up in Boston, it's a Polish, I speak fluent Polish. Read it, write it, everything. Anybody else here Polish? Any Polacks? You read it? You know how to speak it a little? It's awesome, sir. Dziękuję. So, why do I say that? It's a small, tight-knit community. I have 5 best friends growing up who have all died from heroin overdoses. 5. I went to a funeral last year, last one, Yannick Strieski. Were they smoking too much weed in the back alley and then all of a sudden became heroin junkies? Sorry, folks. The answer is no, they did not. What happened was each one was a construction worker, union laborer, got hurt on the job, got prescribed perks or oxys, like everybody does. Why? I got 7 minutes to meet with you, man. Here you go. Here's the drugs. Go on. Go to the pharmacy. Each one of these guys got addicted to those pills. Each one of them, after the prescription ran out, were buying those pills for $20 a pop off the street. And then when they couldn't afford the $20, they were stealing from everyone they knew, including me, including their own families. And what did they do? They stole money, and then that same dealer said, you know, you're paying $20 for the pills. I can get you H, heroin, for $5. All of them are dead 6 months later. If you look at our industry today and look at the private equity firms that are all around our industry, it's taken over. Do you guys remember back in the 80s and 90s when there was a lot of outbreak of crime? What was the response of our government in the 80s and 90s to respond to crime? Anybody know? Anybody? Sorry? War on drugs. But what did they do? They built more prisons. They built prisons everywhere. Why? Well, we got to have a place to house these people, right, that are doing illegal things, right, criminals. But also, building prisons is big, big money for everybody. So if you're a representative in Congress and you're able to get a prison built in your district, it's not just the prison, It's not just the workers. It's not just the guards. My dad was a prison guard for 25 years. It's the sub shop in front, the barber shop, all the retail that builds around it, the hospital that gets access to the prison, all that. Think about how big of an economic boom that is for that particular region. It's huge. But did they do anything about finding ways to get people off the streets and committing crimes? Put more money into education? No, it was build prisons. What's happening now? What's happening now? In our industry today, you know what they're building? Rehab facilities. Everywhere. And they're all out of network. Interesting, huh? How is every rehab facility out of network? Montana, they're building them. Idaho, California, always, Florida. They're building rehab facilities everywhere, all funded by private equity money. Why? They see the same numbers I see. The number of people addicted to painkillers, antidepressants since COVID started, went up 300%. The number of new scripts post-COVID. They see that and all they think, mental health parity. You have to now treat a mental illness no different than a knee sprain, right? Parity in the plan. And they see this. These are our new customers. They're not finding ways to get people off the streets, off drugs. They're finding ways to put these people in rehabilitation facilities that cost $100,000, $200,000 a month. And who's paying those claims? You are. We are. That's the reality of our country, of what's happening. And it's not going to change anytime soon. So Jay and I can sit up there, fight about that copay, that insurance card. But until you go back to your employees, sir, and sit down with them and explain to them what's happening, I call that a workshop, nothing's going to change. And I'm going to talk about that workshop right now. So, as I said, what if? Look at this. This is going back 10 years. In 10 years, premiums have gone up 54%. Contributions by employees have gone up 71%. Yet wage growth, only 26%. So there's less money in people's pockets to pay for food, housing, clothes, extracurricular activities. I mean, you guys all know, I have kids playing soccer, baseball, basketball, football. It all costs money. And the average person is noticing, yeah, I have health insurance. Yeah, you have health insurance. You're better off having no insurance with the health insurance plan that you have. It's killing you. And they're not even being told how to wisely spend those money, those funds that are out of pocket, which is crazy. So what we did many years ago was we put together these mandatory workshops. But why did we do it? Anybody here watch TED Talks at all? Just raise your hand if you see a TED Talk. Perfect. I love TED Talks. And the best TED Talk I ever saw, if anybody wants, I can find out the name of the guy. I forget now. He talked about the most successful companies have a why. Why do you exist as an organization? What is it? Not what you make. Not that you're more efficient at making something. Why do you damn exist? And the companies that could actually identify what their why is were the most successful companies in the country. So I sat there with Ron Peck. I go, Ron, what is our why? This is about 10 years ago. And Ron says, we're the best cost containment company in the country. I'm like, that's not a why. What's our why? This is our why right here. It's to empower plans. We want to make sure that every single American has access to high quality, low cost care. Because every single person in this country deserves that. They do. You deserve it. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat. By the way, obviously I am not left leaning. I live in a communist state of Massachusetts where I'm an outcast like Jay was at the office visit. My wife is left of Castro. Way left. My wife believes that I'm not making this up. I love her to death. She believes that all illegals should have free college and citizens should pay for it. Okay, that's, she's crazy, but it's okay. She's beautiful. When I met her, she couldn't cook. She definitely didn't clean, but she's fun and just cool. Just don't talk about anything relevant and you'll be fine. So, Jeff, you better not be recording this and sending it to Kelly because Dr. Gold texts my wife more than he texts me, which I think is A little weird. Maybe we should have a session about that. But she gets this. She gets this. My wife was against direct primary care. Oh no, we have our own doctor. Dr. Gold, not Gold, Golden. He's our kid's pediatrician. Everyone in Cohasset and Scituate go to Dr. Golden for their kids because he's good looking. He's got the best fish tank you're ever going to see. It's huge. It's like an aquarium. So I go to my wife. I go, what do you know about this guy? Other than he's probably sleeping with half the women that go into his office. What do you know about this guy? And she goes, nothing. I'm like, then why did you choose this guy? Everybody goes to Dr. Golden. That's where you go. First time my son had pink eye, Christmas morning. She's calling Dr. Golden. You think Dr. Golden is answering the phone on Christmas morning? He's in like Waikiki, okay? Who knows where this guy is? She calls the office. She gets the service. The service is telling her all the information, right? She's sharing everything. They go, okay, someone's going to call you back. So you can repeat the entire story again. Then, this is pre-COVID. What do they say they have to do? She has to do. You have to bring Sam, my son, in. Why? You can't get paid unless they see him. Literally. I go, Kel, it's Christmas Day. Let me just FaceTime. I mean, you understand the hospital systems still use fax machines, right? We're the only industry. I think we have investments in like Brother, the fax company. I mean, we must because every single oh no, sir, you have to fax that information to us. And I go, why are we faxing? Well, it's for PHI. I'm like, so the NCAA basketball bracket that's coming through the fax machine is right behind solely Russo's PHI. Yeah, that's somehow safer, more secure, right? I call Dr. Tremblay on FaceTime. He looks at Sam's eye. He goes, yeah, I'll send a script to CVS. It'll be ready in 20 minutes. My wife immediately moved everyone away from Dr. Golden and works with our DPC facility. Every one of my kids. But it took that event. It took a moment. Something had to happen. She saw the bureaucracy. She saw that corruption. She saw the waste and abuse and the why am I doing this and realized there's a better way. Folks, it's almost like it was when I was a kid and I went to Dr. Chris and Keggy's in South Boston. I went to Dr. Chris and Keggy's and he was just cash. He was an old Greek guy. My mom couldn't afford the doctor. He let you pay whatever you could and then just pay him back later. And that's how we did medicine. He would come to our house, our three-decker. You know what a three-decker is? Do you know what a three-decker is? Anyone want to help her? A three-decker is a mobile home, 3 of them stacked on top of each other with front and back porches. That's what it is, basically. He would come to our three-decker and treat our family. And my mother would pay him whatever she could. But that's the thing. We have to empower our plans. Empower people. What's the word empowering mean? Empowering means you have rights and strength and power that you didn't even realize you had. And that's what every CFO in the country doesn't realize, that they have the power to do these things. Every employee has to realize they have the power to do these things. So I talked about mental health. It's crazy out there right now. Right now, the DOL is auditing hundreds of companies. Hundreds for NQTL. Anybody know what percentage, just guess, what percentage of plans are actually compliant with mental health parity currently? What would you say? That's high. I would think 10% is high. And most of the time when the DOL does an audit, guess what? The plan is found not in compliance. Why does the DOL auditing these companies? Do you think they pull a name out of a hat to audit the company? No. Because every time a patient's claim is denied, it says right there in the plan document, you can call the DOL, Department of Labor. So when that drug rehab claim comes in, and that mother has got a 16-year-old kid addicted to heroin, and her claim is denied. Why? Above usual and customary. Not reasonable charges, because they're usually out of network. The mom's called every facility nearby, every facility in network. She's called all the EAP people. Guess what? They can't even answer the phones. There's so much. There's not enough supply for the demand. She had no option but to reach out to the place she saw on TV during watching Jerry Springer and go to the place in Malibu because they're the only ones that would actually have the room to accept him. $100,000 a month, denied. Appeal, $100,000 a month, denied. So what does that mother do? It isn't like it's a knee sprain. That mother is calling the DOL. Why? Because that's her son, man. She calls the DOL, and what do? An investigation, like they should. But they're investigating the wrong thing. They're not investigating why is the facility charging $100,000 a month to treat this kid's heroin because they know they got that emotional pull. They know that mother, like me, I would do anything, spend any amount of money, go through walls to protect my kids. Every day I see these claims, and it's sad. So we have to work on that and get the story to be about those facilities, not about the plan, not just paying every single claim that comes in under the sun. That needs to change. We're going to talk about plan design. We're going to talk about PBMs. I got about 20 minutes. Perfect. So in regards to this, the workshop is everything under this, under number one, literally ties into number one, ties into the workshop. Mandatory. So my company has been doing the mandatory workshops now for over a decade. You don't get free insurance unless you attend the mandatory workshop. Your spouse, if they're above 18, and any child above 18 is required to watch the video. Not at the office. We actually, they call it video camera. You could record all the workshops, and then people can share them and see them. Required. But then it's free. So what do you talk about? I don't talk about bronze, silver, gold, platinum, whatever. We talk about them, their data, their characteristics, their behaviors. And how do we know that? Claims. So why do I tell every single TPA? Folks, back in 2007 was the moment that changed my company and changed me. I was living in my mother's basement until a speech I did at HCAA in Vegas. They had me speak at 8 a.m. on the last day of the conference. The night before was an open bar, all-you-can-eat party. I didn't go to sleep. Never mind the audience. I walked in there and I said, you know what? I was 33, and I go, we're not getting enough traction. I got to just do something different. I swore, I used the F word, saying, you know what the problem with our industry is? And I said, effing all of you. I literally called out the people I'm trying to sell my products to and said, you were there. When I finished that speech, there was 50 people lined up to talk to me. 50. And everything changed. TPAs realize, if you're a TPA in this room, this is what you should be doing. You should be pushing this. You should be charging for this. Charging to train the brokers and people within the employer's organization to do these. Why? It's going to save you buckles of money. Here's how. Every single one of my employees is provided true price transparency, true quality metrics, down to the physician. Now you'll say, where'd you get that data? I've been building this for 3 years. I'm lucky that Jay Kempton has offered to be a beta tester and give me feedback on the engine, which is called Ignite. It ignites it all on what we've built. We have the quality metrics, and how do we get it? Folks, if you're a doctor in this room, if you're a physician, what you don't realize is there's a big, big company. There's a big, big, like the Death Star. There's huge organizations out there that are called reinsurers. And they insure everything from catastrophic things happening, floods, whatever. But they also offer reinsurance to facilities. And in order to offer reinsurance to a facility, what are they looking at? How good are the doctors at that place? Because it's their money at risk. So they've built all the things, all the bells and whistles already are built. They already know how to do all this stuff. They have acuity rating per procedure, complication rates, readmission rates, everything under the sun, way more than you'll find on CMS or through Medicare, Medicaid, but it's not free. We got it from CMS, from Medicare, from Medicaid, but more importantly, from these reinsurers. So we know if there's 5 doctors that perform these surgeries at that facility, there's a reason why guy number 5 always has open up appointments, because he's the worst one at that place. I'm an attorney. Trust me, there were plenty of kids below me in law school that no matter if I had a fender bender, I wouldn't be hiring them. It's no different with doctors. There's the best, and then there's the not so best. And it's your right as a consumer to know who's the best, who's the worst, who's in the middle, who's using the most up-to-date procedures, who's using the best possible techniques, the best equipment, the most relevant information. There are still, everyone here knows Dr. McCary. He talks about the Dr. Death guy that Hollywood actors go to, and he's like, every other doctor in the hospital is like, call this guy Dr. Death, yet he's got Brad Pitt going into his operating room. How? Because you don't even know. So we most importantly incentivize them to care about the overall cost and quality as well. And I'm going to show you how we do that. In our plan, full disclosure, we are self-funded with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. So folks, everything I'm doing and selling you is done on a Blue Cross network plan. This is not pure RBP, narrow network. It's a regular Blue Cross Blue Shield plan in Massachusetts. And we do all these things. How? You do it through the SPD and your employee handbook, which is huge opportunity to do a lot of these incentives because they won't go against network provisions, network contracts. So what do? We had people going back to 2012. Ron Peck and I sat down at Phia and we noticed a bunch of people at our office were getting married. Ma'am, what happens after people get married? It's not that complicated. I don't put you on a spot. Guess, just give me a guess. They have a kid. Or they get divorced. Or both, right? Divorced and have a kid. So Ron, if you guys know who Ron Peck is, he's on the webinars. He's a brilliant guy. Ron said, what are we paying to deliver these kids? When my wife had our baby, Maeve, we went to Mass General. Why? Because everyone goes to Mass General. My sister went to Mass General. My aunt works at Mass General, right? My cousin's a custodian at Mass General. Matt Damon in the movie, what's that movie about Boston? They're all horrible. Good Will Hunting, which is the biggest, fakest accents ever. In Good Will Hunting, right? What happened? He's working at a hospital, mopping floors, right? He's at the university, doing his thing. All that stuff. At the end of the day, why do people go to certain facilities over others? It's because custom. My mom went there. My mom works there. Whatever it is. No one's going, their rating is a 4.6 for delivered child. This one's a 4.2. They don't do that. Nobody does that. Not talking about you, Jay. I'm talking about the regular people on the plan. None of it. What we found was back then, the copay, the inpatient copay, was $250 for any hospital. I'm lucky that we live in Boston where there's literally like 50 hospitals, okay? Which makes it worse in a lot of ways because there's too many options, right? South Shore Hospital, to deliver that baby, was $12,000. Mass General was $50. Brigham and Women's was $60. They're teaching hospitals. It's the same kid. Like, same ugly kid is coming. Like, there's no difference in a better looking baby, like, because you're at Mass General. And we looked at quality scores at every single facility. They were the same. And I don't know if you guys know, but at Mass General, to park your car, it's $50 a day valet. South Shore, it's free parking. And most of our people live 5 miles away from South Shore Hospital. So what do? Hold on. Sorry. What do? We said, you can go to any hospital you want. They're all in network. If you choose one of these three, and every year we update it, free diapers, free baby wipes, delivered to your house for 2 years. We've had 68 babies born. 68 babies have chosen a hospital that got free diapers and wipes. We had one person whose kids claim, thank you, one person that clapped, appreciate it. One person kids claim was a $1.3 million freebie claim if that was at Mass General. That freebie claim cost $300,000 at South Shore Hospital. Stop-loss carriers love us. Folks, our stop-loss premiums go down every year. Yeah, down. Why? Because of stuff like this. Well, how do you deliver diapers and wipes? What do you have? A person drives to their house? No, it's called Amazon, man. It's called Amazon. This isn't complicated stuff. So we built modules for our employees so they can look at all the videos on screen. We have funny animation, all this cool stuff. And then every person in their pocket gets a pocket card. And it gives them little information. Right Way is what we use for our people to have an app to look at quality metrics and talk to care specialists about what facilities, what the charges are, and they look at our data. They use our data to talk to our people. Diapers and wipes, right there. Imaging, co-pays waived if it's an independent freestanding facility. Urgent care waived if it's a freestanding independent facility. Why do we say that? I'm going to share with you why. Here's why. Folks, there's a scam when it comes to this, too. MRIs. You think it's a freestanding facility. It's not. It's part of a hospital system. So what we do is with the data, we're telling you're the employees. All right, guys, if you have to go to urgent care, those 5 are actual urgent care facilities that charge like urgent care. Those 3 charge as if it's an emergency room. How much time did I just take? 10 seconds? Nobody does it. How do your employees know that Carewell is a freestanding facility, but that Beth Israel Health Urgent Care isn't? They don't know. You're not telling them. So they're spending, when they go in to urgent care, they're spending $2,000 for that bill at Beth Israel, and they're spending $200 on that same bill at Carewell. Our employees, it's not coming out of their pocket. But for all of your employees, it is. It's coming out of the deductible. Tell them this stuff. It's going to save money for the plan. Next one, South Coast Health. We have to blow this one up because South Coast Health charges as if it's a hospital facility. You share it with your employees. And I'm telling you, if you're a broker in this room, you should be getting this information from your the TPAs, administrators you work with, and then you're sharing it with the employer's HR department, and you look like a hero. Don't you want that once in a while as a broker? Just to look really good and show that you're saving money for the plan over and over again? Next one, this, prescription drugs. We incentivize our employees. If they're able to find a way to save money for the plan, we give them 20% of the savings cash. Why? To build behavior, to get that water cooler talk going. So Ron, this is Ron Peck's claim. Ron always talks about this. Ron is type 2 diabetic. So these are the 3 options that he had. 375, 100, 450, right? So he knows that we used to pay, we stopped doing this because we don't need to anymore. We used to give every employee $100 to talk to HR about their options before they schedule any surgery. I'm not talking about emergency room. Like, you know, you have a knee replacement surgery in 2 months. Talk to HR first, we'll give you $100. Just talk to us. And HR shares with them all the information, the quality, the cost, out of pocket, and then they make their own decision. But they also know if they choose a lower cost facility at a high quality, they get 20% of the savings in their pocket. It's big. So what did Ron do? He realized, I can take whatever it's called, Admiral, I guess. It's $100 a month plus $50 copay. It was $150 a month. But we give Ron $100 a month. We pay $100 for the medication. Ron gets $50 back for the copay refund because he chose the lowest cost option, and he got 20% of the savings. We still only paid $205 versus $400. And what's happened though? Ron Peck is now what? A consumer. He now has skin in the game. He's going to the water cooler. If people still go to the office, there's water coolers, right? It's so nuts. But Ron goes to the water cooler and he's talking about this. Now, the person he's talking to might not have diabetes, but they definitely have claims. And this is available for every claim. Direct primary care. We have it in Louisville. We have it in Canton. And then for all employees, we have another option as well. I'm not telling you to use these organizations. I'm just telling you what we've built. And this has literally caused our claim expenses. Our claim costs went down last year, from the year before, even though we added 30 employees. 30. It's important. The Boston Globe did a front page story about our Diapers and Wipes program, calling it innovative. How is this innovative? I'm sorry. If this is innovative, I mean, in no other industry is this innovation except ours, the fax machine industry. That's who. Folks, I know it's the American dream and all, right? But it shouldn't be possible for a 26-year-old kid with $4,000 to compete with Zealous, Equian, Rawlings, Multiplan, all these big companies. I shouldn't be able to come in the industry and compete because I'm able to find 3 to 4 times more savings than they can just because I look at the data. That's insanity. In Wall Street, if you found a 0.5 percentage point savings, you're a hero. In this industry, it's like 50% savings that you can find. So we have a Q&A then during the workshop. Well, what happens if next year you switch the hospitals? Because we change the hospitals every year. Guys, it's so crazy. A hospital could be on our list last year, averaging $12,000 a surgery, to delivery. The next year, it's 40. No idea how. A hospital's rating, quality rating could go down or up. So we update it every year. Well, the great question we get is, well, what if my baby isn't born in the calendar year? What if it's not until next year it's grandfathered in? It's fine. But we do this on every type of procedure. And the most important thing to do is to look at the claims data and identify what are your unique risks for your plan. What you'll see is pretty simple. So it's free. We talk about cost drivers. We talk about trends in Massachusetts and the nation. We talk about our cost containment programs. We talk about the actual data. There's no PHI. We're not like, hey, guys, Joe here, he had a claim for some STD, and he went to this place. We don't do that. It's percentage. We go, out-of-network utilization at this organization is 12%. Our average discount on out-of-network utilization is 25%. If we take out-of-network and make it reference-based pricing only with direct contracts, it'll be 80% off bill charges. Like basic stuff that you share, but you have to incentivize the employees in order to do it. So why does it matter? Oh my God. Folks, there's a clock right here telling me I have 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Wow. That's really bad. See, I am Polish, so folks, there you go. Now, health benefits matter. Our retention rate, employees don't leave. We want to hire young people and build them, just like we're building. We want them to have families, grow their development as a career, but also grow within our organization. The number one thing they care about once they start having a family is what? Health benefits. Number one. I'm not losing an employee because some big company or somewhere offered them $20,000 more in salary. When they look at that health plan for that company, they go, I got a $10,000 deductible. This is crazy. At Phia, we get this. It is valuable. Do you have any idea how much it costs to look for, recruit, onboard, and then train a new employee? It costs more. It's about $22,000. It's more than it costs to give a person health insurance for the whole year. Think about that. So every CFO, think about that. You're spending, no problem, spending money on recruiters, all this, job fairs, no problem. But oh no, we can't reduce the out-of-pocket expenses for our employees. How dare we? Yes, you can. So the coolest thing that I see coming. So if I'm back here 5 years from now, Jay, if you ask me to come back, if you do, I'll remember there's a clock. To me, the future is this. Imagine this. You walk into a plan for the first time, a prospect. That prospect has been fully insured or they're self-insured with an ASO, and you were able to get their claims there. That's the key, right? So now there's a lot more transparency when it comes to that, but so you're able to get a bit more data, especially from the ASOs. We go in, and imagine I could take your claims data for your company for the past 2 years, and we scrub it and analyze it. And then we build everything based off that. So what does it mean? We look at what their professional services rates were. We look at cost and quality metrics of the hospital systems in that area to identify top providers. We look at everything from a cost and quality perspective. We then look at out-of-network charges, right? So what I'm bringing here is a true story. My kids go to that Montessori school. I coach the football team, I coach the baseball team, I coach the soccer team at the kids' school. Not this week, but I do, all right? I was on their board of directors, and what I saw on their health plan, they were fully insured. They had about 100 employees. They were fully insured, and they were just, it was crazy. Horrible benefits for the teachers and all the people that worked there. And I put my own reputation on the line. I said, I want to move this group to a captive. And they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Our broker is Johnny. Johnny went to school here 20 years ago. We can't not use Johnny. I'm like, well, Johnny's giving you the crappiest options you could possibly have. You got to change, especially with teachers, because there's lots of opportunities for teachers to move. And at my kid's school, the teachers are the number one asset, as they should be for every school. So what do? I said, let's take them out and put them in a captive. In the first 3 years of being self-funded, with me running the plan, I'm the plan sponsor. I decide, okay? I got permission from the principal and from the board to do it. We get refund checks, 100,000, 50,000, refund checks coming back to us. Why? The first company outside of my own that we did a mandatory workshop was my kid's school. I'm doing it next Tuesday, the next one, and it's me. And I sit with all the teachers on a Tuesday after school, and I go over everything you just saw. And this is their data. So they know, I'm not sharing this with them, I'm sharing this with you. But they know that on average, they pay professional services at 130, outpatient at about 200% of Medicare, what percent drugs are, what percent of cost to charge ratios inpatient facilities are. We have all that. We go over all this stuff. We talk about how drugs represent 45% of the patient's bills, of their bills, etc. So we have the entire overview. But on average, they're paying 133% of Medicare for their claims. It's not an RBP plan. They use a TPA with a network, and they pay 133% on average. Why? Because they have the tools that I was talking about. So I'm going to basically tell them that the plan is performing so well, we're not making any new changes to the plan, except for their copay used to be at $50 for a generic drug. Now, starting fiscal year July 1 is their new plan year, it's zero. 50, zero. In 3 years. All this stuff takes time. You can't make this happen overnight. So, what else do? We then look at their plan document and we analyze it. So you're the broker. You walk into that group. You're able to tell them, here's your data. Here's what we found. You need direct primary care. You need direct contracts. You go to low quality facilities. You need more steerage. We then look at the plan and we tell them, here's the plan complexities. Here's where you're not compliant. Here's where you are compliant. But most importantly, here's where you can add incentives and steerage and get these people to become consumers of care, not just patients of care. And that is the key. You don't need to, this is not for you to read the things. Just explain to you what it is that we're doing in that analysis. Okay? So, we then, for other plans like ours, what we said was we saw that 3% of our people were using emergency rooms the wrong way, where they could have went to something else. 3%. So what do we do at our company? We say, very simple. We increase the copay to $500 if you went to an emergency room, but you should have went to an urgent care. Now, people say, well, that's drastic. It's not. Why? Because my kids are on the plan. I'm on the plan. I'm not saying that's to you. It's to me, too, and my family. I'm in the game with you. We're all one family, and we're all sharing in this. And obviously, we have exceptions. We have the appeals process, we have all those things. But the bottom line, folks, is you need to have carrots, and then sometimes you need sticks. But you never want to do sticks first, ever. You want to build those carrots to get people to actually think that's not just some crazy guy from Boston with that thick accent who's talking a mile a minute. He's actually talking about something that's useful. It's going to make a change to my company. So, PPO contracts. There's ways to get around them, but it ain't easy. Here's why it's not easy. Look at this second provision, okay? Second paragraph. Clients shall not encourage enrollees to obtain health care from a particular provider by offering incentives. It's anti-American, man. This is normal provision. They have every hospital is in their network. You're not allowed to tell people or incentivize them to go here instead of there, even though the quality and the data and everything you know tells you that's a better place. You can't tell your people that. That's our healthcare system today. Same thing here. You can't use the data to use it for claims information, to find out transparency. We have a transparency rule in this country. The contracts still tell you you can't share the data and be transparent. Current. It's nuts. No surprise that you guys get all that stuff. And the only thing I want to bring up before I go, and my time's up, there are some really smart people here. Corey Cook is here. I worship her. I've looked up to her for 20-something years. She's an amazing attorney. We have great relationships. She's a great person. She knows this stuff. My company knows stuff. There are people out there that know how to do these things to be compliant, because every year the government somehow makes it harder for you to be compliant, harder for you to lower the overall cost. They do. Oh my God, your last name's not even Cook anymore. I just figured that out. My apologies, Corey. Well, I always called you Corey Cook. So please, folks, I just want to say this has been an absolute blessing. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be the first one today, and I'm honored to be the first speaker at the first ever conference you guys had. My company's next webinar, they're all free, is May 18th at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, my foot's killing me right now. I'm sweating from the pain. But thank you for the opportunity today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.